Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina wa Maulana Muhammadin wa alihi wa sahbihi ajmain. We are looking at Imam Ghazali's classification of different types of reason, different conceptions of reason or different meanings of reason, and we are up to the third type in his classification. And he says, الثالث علوم تستفاد من التجارب بمجاري الأحوال بمجاري الأحوال يعني تصاريفها. So we are looking at this third definition, inshallah, today, and maybe if we have time we'll look at the fourth one as well. So the third meaning of reason or rationality is life experience, basically. Life experience, tajarib. Tajarib is a plural of, this is plural, or it's a singular is tajriba. Some people say tajraba or tajruba. That's not correct. Tajriba with kasra. And obviously we use that in Urdu and Farsi as well. In Urdu, most people actually pronounce this word incorrectly, but the correct pronunciation in Urdu is also tajriba. And tajriba and tajarib in Urdu and Farsi is used in a similar sense as Arabic, but in Urdu we have some extra meaning as well. So for example, tajriba in Urdu is used for experiments as well. So so when we used to do physics experiments, so that's we call tajribat as well. Scientific experiments are called tajarib, and they might be called tajarib in contemporary Arabic, but that's not what tajriba and tajarib means fundamentally in classical Arabic. Tajriba and tajarib mean life experience. And tajarib is life experience, because life experience provides the context for our reason or rationality to work. To work, because life experience generally mean that you have lived in different places, you have seen similar things in variety of contexts. You have seen, people rich and become poor becoming rich, kings falling, empires falling, and people rising to power, etc. That's life experience. And what Quran, tasarif al-ahwal, the change of situation, Allahumma malik al-mulk tu'ti al-mulka man tasha wa tu'izzu man tasha wa tuzillu man tasha biyadika al-khair. So these that's why Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam ad-dahr, these changes in situation, changes in conditions, that's what you learn from life experience. That's what called tajriba and tajarib. And a person with a lot of life experience is called a rational person, or al-aqil, because generally people learn from these life experiences. They know how things can be in different conditions, in different contexts, in variety, of situation, etc. And on that basis, they are able to judge in a way which is correct. So that judgment is a rational judgment, but that judgment is the function of our mind and our reason, but the context is provided by life experience. So if we take a person with a lot of life experience, obviously we are talking about the general realities, because sometimes people have a lot of life experience but they don't learn anything from that. So we are not. And B is a very sharp mind as well, but he doesn't have life experience. So other things being equal, A's judgment would be more superior because of this context. So his judgment is enriched by and informed by his life experience. Even though B is maybe even superior in mental capacities to that person, A, but since B is young and he didn't have much life experience, he hadn't seen different situations, etc., his judgment won't be that ripe, especially in matters in which context is important. So in other words, our mental capacities which constitute our reason themselves are unable to provide context, and that context has to be filled in by our sense experience in general objective matters, and by life experience in matters in which situation and the context is important. A good example of this would be driving, for example. So you learn driving, you know how to drive, but you still need a lot of driving hours under your belt to pass the driving test, because you need to drive in the night time, in the evening, in the mornings, in a rainy season, in a sunny situation, when sun is rising, when sun is setting, because those situations affect your ability to maneuver. So driving is a very context sensitive field. Similar way, our reason and mind are like driving. So you need natural abilities, etc., but experience of driving, generally speaking, other things being equal, trumps everything. That's why people with long driving, not driving, sometimes driving experience, other things being better drivers, or less likely to make mistakes because they have more driving experience. In a similar way, people with other things being equal, obviously, long life experience are able to make better judgments. So it means they are rationally more capable. And what differentiates them from other equally capable rational people is their life experience, because that life experience informs their judgment. So that life experience is part of sometimes what we call a rational person or rationality. So rationality can mean judgment of our mind. In this, rationality can mean judgment of our mind informed by life experience. Sometimes people call it people call it wisdom as well, because longer life experience provides you insight about things which can't be gained without those experiences, because life experiences teach you a variety of situations, variety of contexts, as I said. But it also teaches you how you held firm beliefs about certain things, and then because of your experience, because of your further reading or meeting people who were able to raise objection against those firm beliefs, you had to change your views. So over lifespan, you change your views. So you know that, but a person who is just growing up without much experience won't know those things generally. So that sort of person is known as a wise person, because he's even though his mental capacities may be equal or less than other people, but his life experience enriched those mental capacities and provide so those judgments informed by these life experiences are also known. Sometimes we call them rational. That's what we mean by reason or rationality sometimes. The judgments of our minds informed by life experience, long life experience. And obviously life experiences can be in themselves can be richer or less richer, or more diverse or less diverse. So there's a lot of gradation there too, that's why I always talk about other things being equal, what philosophers call mutatis mutandis. So this is the type of reason which is based on reason, rationality, which is based on and informed by lifelong experience and lifelong learning. Whether that learning is formal or informal, that doesn't matter. And this type of rationality is actually very close to what Aristotle calls phronesis, and which in English people translate as practical wisdom. So wisdom here is the life experience, the practical life, because phronesis in Greek, practical wisdom or type of reason which you use, or type of intelligence you use related to actions. So phronesis is practical wisdom in that sense, and which is derived from phronein, which just merely mean to think, from phrein, which mean mind in Greek, in classical Greek. So what Imam Al-Ghazali here is talking about tajarib is basically what Aristotle is saying, phronesis. This is practical wisdom. Practical wisdom, or better, that's how most people translate it, but it's a bit misleading. It's a lifelong experience. So rationality or rational judgment informed by lifelong experience of phronesis or tajarib is this third type of rationality. And Aristotle actually in Nicomachean Ethics, where he talks about practical reason, says something similar, which I might try to find out and quote here. So it's in Nicomachean Ethics, in my copy. This is the name of his son. I think he wrote it for him. Nicomachean Ethics, where he talks, and he mentioned it in relation to his discussion about virtue or excellence being a means between two extremes. And it is in book 7, chapter 3, and here he says something which is very similar. And he says that the fact that men use men use the language that flows from knowledge proves nothing. Why? So the fact that men use the language, they you might have read something and learned something, some terminologies. A lot of people talk, in high-flowing language. Doesn't mean that they actually have deep insight into that subject. Why? Because he says, for even men under the influence of these passions utters these passions. He was talking about passions of different sorts before this passage. So for even men under the influence of these passions utter scientific proofs and verses of Empedocles. He was one of the pre-Socratic philosopher, and those who have just begun to learn can string together words. So those who have just begun to learn can string words together. Words, can remember theories, what Nietzsche said and what Einstein said, but do not yet know. But do not, meaning they don't understand it very well. Why? It's just like driving. They might know how to drive, but they haven't driven in different situations. For it has to become part of themselves, and that takes time. That's one of the things. They don't know yet. Why? Because it has to become, that is knowledge. It has to become, or skill, or practical reasoning has to become part of them. It has to become part of themselves. And that takes time. By time here, that takes life experience. So they have learned things, at different level. And they know things, but they don't know them deeply and well because it hasn't become part of themselves. That they haven't actually understood its meaning of that knowledge in different situations. What they're lacking is life experience. And that life experience takes time. Okay? And that takes time, so that we must suppose that the use of language by men in an incontinent state means no more than it utterance by actors on a stage. So knowledge, the difference between knowledge and mere utterance is the passage of time. Other things be equal, obviously, because the passage of time will provide you with life experience where you can experience the meaning and understand that knowledge and make it into part of yourself through experiencing what you have learned in terms of information in different situations, and only then it becomes knowledge. So what I was saying is what Imam Ghazali is saying in terms of tajarib is almost the same what Aristotle says about phronesis, or practical reason, or practical wisdom. But we shouldn't think that Imam Ghazali necessarily took it from Aristotle, because these sort of thoughts are present in ancient Arabic poetry and Islamic in Quran and Hadith, and even in ancient Persian literature, and all these things Imam Ghazali was well aware of, because these sort of things, what Aristotle is talking about, or what Imam Ghazali is talking about, these are things which part of every human culture and civilization. Anyway, so let's go back to the text. So Thalith or Ulumun, so these are the type of knowledge you tustafadu, tatahassulu, you gain min at-tajarib, from life experience. The majari al-ahwal, life experience, which consists in experiencing things in different situations, in different contexts. So what Imam is saying is that the third meaning of reason or rationality consists in rational judgment, or just judgments, and set of knowledge, a set of judgments which constitute knowledge, and set of judgments which constitute knowledge. That's why he's calling it knowledge, based on life experience, long life experience in different conditions, in different situations, etc. So that's what third meaning of reason is, as we said, judgments and set of judgments which constitute knowledge based on long life experiences in variety of situations. So your judgments are informed by them. So that's the third meaning of what we mean by al-ulum al-salis. So there's the third meaning of reason is judgment and set of judgment which constitute knowledge, tustafadu, which you acquire through lifelong experience in different situations. And then there's the explanation of this. فَإِنَّ مَنْ حَنَّكَتْهُ التَّجَارِبُ. So whosoever is taught by life experience, حَنَّكَتْهُ, taught by. حَنَّكَ means to teach, to tame, to civilize someone. So taming a horse is also tahniq. So hannaka means to teach, to civilize, to tame. So taming of horse is tahniq. So taming a person is passion. So you're taught by experience, you're civilized by inculturation. That's hannaka as well. So, and Zubaydi in his commentary says that minat tajarib فإن من حنكه التجارب فعلت به ما يفعل بالفرس إذا حنك حتى عاد مجربا مزللا. So حنك, a person who has done the same thing by life, what we do to a horse when we try to tame a horse. So life and the changes in life and life experience does the same to a person So through that, it teaches him or civilises him and tames him, and inculture him. So that's what he's trying to say. فإن من حنكته التجارب. So whosoever has been tamed by, taught by, civilized by life experience of وهذبته المذاهب. So هذب here means the same thing as حنك. وهذبته المذاهب. And هذب يهذب تهذيبا, to civilize somebody, inculturation. So he is هذبته مذاهب. He is taught and civilized and in culture by changes in opinion throughout the life due to different reason, by sitting and learning and living among different schools, different cultures, different learning laboratories, different universities, different societies, etc. So through that, he changes his opinions. So he learns that opinions, even firm opinions, can be changed. Even so, he develops this distance from his ideas, etc. And that's what experience teaches you. That's what inculturation. That's what phronesis is. That's what practical wisdom is. So the school of life, and different schools within life, teach you different things and teach you how things change, how opinion change, how there are more than one religion, how there are more than one civilization, how there are more than one culture, how you see people of different opinion, different point of view, and you go through your own life having different opinions, changing your opinion. So through that you come to know that even firm opinions can change, a thing which a neophyte won't know, for example. So الثالث علوم تستفاد من التجارب بمجاري أحوال فإن من حنكته التجارب وهذبته المذاهب يقال إنه عاقل في العادة. So third type of reason and third types of knowledge based on this type of reason is the one which is acquired through life experience in different variety of context, because only the person who has been taught by life and life experience, and who has been incultured and civilized by the school of life, so to speak, the school of life, normally only that person is known as rational person, as a routine, or as a usually that person is called rational person, not the person who just have a mind, sharp mind, etc., and has learned some books. Only that person is actually called rational, and only that person has really mature reason. So sometimes people use reason, but they mean this is specific type of reason, a reason informed by variety of and diverse life experience. Okay. And then Imam goes on to say, وَمَنْ لَا يَتَّصِفُ بِهَذِهِ الصِّفَةِ, and a person who doesn't have this sort of life experience, even if he or she has a lot of knowledge, is actually a neophyte. So here he uses three words: ghabi, ghumr, and jahil. And jahil, generally mean a person without knowledge, but that's not what he means here. Even though, and ghabi mean a person who doesn't have very sharp mind, but that's not what he means here. And the word which gives us clue is the middle word, umrun, because umrun means neophyte. So neophyte doesn't mean that neophyte doesn't have knowledge or he doesn't have a sharp mind. What neophyte doesn't have is this lifelong experience, and that's what umr is. And although Zubaydi in his commentary say umr mean jahil, but umr doesn't mean jahil. Umr mean neophyte. Umr mean a person without experience. Because ghumr in Arabic language, ghumr means a person who doesn't have much life experience. That's what Homer is. So when he's juxtaposing Ghabi, and which can mean Ghabi is a dull person or person without much sharp mind, and Jahil, which can mean ignorant person, what he means is just this type of inexperienced persons. And in English, the nearest word I can think of is neophyte. That's what Homer is, neophyte. So this neophyte, they might have knowledge, knowledge, and they might have information, might have sharp mind, but what he or she lacks is this life experience. So his or her judgment, or might be sharp judgment, might be based on what he has learned, but it's not informed by life experience. So especially in matters where life experience and context is important, his neophyte's judgment would be lacking in this type of reason. So Homer is a person without. And just to finish it off, a bit of just a side information. The Homer is one of those words in Arabic language which we call muthallas. Musallas. It's a linguistic triangle. So Ghamr and Ghimr and Ghamr. That's a linguistic. So only vowels are changing. Ghamr and Ghimr and Ghumr. Ghamr mean with fath. Ghamr mean a lot of water. It also means darkness of night, or darkness, pitch dark. That's what Ghamr is. And Ghimr mean hiqd, al-hiqd, or al-ghil. In English, al-hiqd can be spite, rancor. That's what Ghimr is. And Ghumr is a person without, a person without experience. So this word is taught when we read those texts which deal with linguistic triangles. For example, Musallas of Qutrab. And Musallas of Qutrab, the first two verses where it start with this word. It says al-ghamru ma'un ghazura, sorry. Al-ghamru ma'un ghazura wal-ghimru hiqdun sutira wal-ghumru zu jahlin sara fihi walam yujarrib. So is an ignorant person. Ghumr is an ignorant person, but in the meaning that he doesn't have much life experience. Walam yujarrib, doesn't have much. So al-ghumru bid-dhammi al-shakhs al-maghmur alladhi lam yujarrib al-umur, neophyte. And this arrogant person who thinks that he has a lot of knowledge because he has read some books, or even a lot of books, and he has sharp mind, but he doesn't have life experience. And the same thing, same word you will find in Musallas of Imam Ibn Malik At-Tai, where he said Ma'un kasirun wa zalamun ghamru wa min ghamarta masdaran wal ghimru hiqdun wa aidan atashun wal ghumru man kana lit tajrib zajtanab. So Ghumr is the person who is man kana lit tajrib zajtanab. So Ghumr is the person who is sort of arrogant because he is maghmur. That's what maghmur, because he has read books, so he has information, maybe a lot of information. He has sharp mind, like a person who convert to a new religion and say, "Oh, I have researched all the religions, and this is the best religion, even though he hasn't scratched the surface. He doesn't know. So that sort of person in English we call neophyte. Neophyte. So that's what Homer is: arrogant person who might have read more books, might have sharp mind, but it doesn't have a lot of experience. As Imam Ibn Malik says in Al-Ilam, man kana wal-ghumru man kana lit-tajrib ijtinabi. Doesn't have much life experience. And the nazm or the poem of Musallas al-Qutrab, it says wal-ghumru zu jahlin sara. So he is ignorant in that sense, but sara fihi wa lam yujarrib. But he is ignorant in the sense that he doesn't have much life experience. And the same word occurs in Abu Hayyan's famous verses where he said, يَظُنُّ الْغُمْرُ أَنَّ الْكُتُبَ تَهْدِي أَخَا فَهْمٍ لِإِدْرَاكِ الْعُلُومِ وَمَا يَدْرِي الْجَهُولُ بِأَنَّ غَمَامِض حَيَّرَتْ عقل الفهيم إذا رمت العلوم بغير شيخ ضللت عن الصراط المستقيم وتلتبس الأمور عليك حتى تصير أضل من توم الحكيم. So here he says يظن الغمر. This arrogant person, he says, he thinks that the books he has read are going to guide him, but he doesn't know this, and he called him ignorant person as well. He doesn't know, because he doesn't know that there are matters in which reason become bewildered and which cannot be solved just with the help of books. You need a teacher, because that teacher has life experience, so he can explain things to you in their context. So when he's talking about yazunul ghumran al-kutub tadi, so this person has read actually a lot of books, but what he lacks is this life experience in variety of this life, this education in the school of life. That's what he lacks. She lacks. He thinks that he knows, when in fact his knowledge is contextless knowledge, because the context to knowledge is provided by life experience. Okay, let's go back to the text and finish it off. So the third type of rationality is the rationality from which we acquire knowledge based on life experience. Life experience in variety of situation, because if you haven't been taught by experience and haven't been tamed and civilized by the school of life or schools of life, by changes by changes in opinions, by changes in different going through different schools, going through different learning processes, different ideologies, different religions, etc. If you haven't experienced that, you can't be called a rational person, a person with mature reason, because if you are not, if you don't have life experience, then you are just like a neophyte. You might have learned some things, gleaned some information through books or hearsay. You might have sharp mind, but what you lack is that sharp mind, or those book knowledge informed by rich life experience. فهذا نوع آخر من العلوم سمي عقل. So this is a different type of rationality, which you can't glean through books, which you can't acquire just through having natural, ability or sharp mind, etc. You need experience for that. Okay, we'll stop here then.